Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Brandon, and this is the age of the comeback. Woo! Woo, 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 woo. Boom! All right, all right. Today's episode is named Connection with Voice. Connection with Voice. Now, let's take an opportunity right there. We're going to jump straight in here, okay? Let's take an opportunity right there for me to ask you this question. What does that mean to you? Having a connection with your voice. What does that mean to you? Breathe into it. One more time. Having a connection with your voice. What does it mean to you? What does it mean? Hopefully, this episode guides you and navigates you to having a deeper understanding of what that meaning is for you, having a connection with your own voice. However, everybody's definition is going to be different. Results may differ because everybody has their own experiences. Okay? So, however you define it, there is no right or wrong. Okay? And from there, let's get cracking. So, who's this episode for? This episode is for, are you an individual that is yearning to have a deeper connection with your voice? This episode is for you. Are you an individual that has a hard time getting out of their mind so they could get into their heart when speaking? This episode is for you. And also, are you an individual that has a hard time with intentional speaking? Intentional speaking and knowing when your message is landing with your recipient. This episode is for you. Today's topic is connection with voice. Now, first and foremost, I'd like to just dive straight in here to experiences. Experiences. So this is actually a weak point for me, right? This is a weak point for me regarding having a connection with my voice. Reason being is that I am an individual that tends to ramble a lot. Ramble a lot. And before emotional intelligence and leadership trainings, I did not know why. I did not know why I rambled so much regarding the source of where it came from. And this is in direct correlation to me always being in my head and having a disconnect with my heart. Rambling to me, and this is what I discovered through my trainings, is an untrust within myself. An untrust within myself. And I know where the untrust comes from. The untrust comes from time and time and time and time again, continuing to break my word to myself. Continuing to break my word to myself. Now, you guys know about me, ex-druggie, ex-alcoholic. Every time I was seeking for change, and every time that I wanted to stop doing these reckless, repetitive, negative cycles within my life, I would declare that I'd stop with no follow through. Now, that pertains to both relapsing, also with my physical fitness. In the past, I was not congruent with being consistent with my physical fitness. Also within my work life, I was not meeting project deadlines. So it started to reflect in other areas of my life that untrust that I had in myself, that untrust that I had in myself. Also, just another piece of feedback here from my experience is that I also feel that where that also sourced from, the rambling, is the need for being heard, the need to be heard. Sometimes, and this came from actually one of my students that I'm about to take into leadership training, and it resonated with me so deeply. She said that sometimes I speak just to hear myself speak. What does that mean? Sometimes I speak just to hear myself speak. What does that mean? Why it resonated with me so deeply was because of coming from a childhood that I felt that I was not heard, that my parents were in control of my life and I didn't have a voice. Granted, they guided me in the right direction. I thank God for my mom and dad. However, me voicing my opinions and what I wanted for myself and what I wanted to do with my life, it was non apparent. It was invisible. And I just followed. And that's nothing to take away from my parents. They did an amazing job raising me. They did. Okay? They did. However, as a child going through that feeling of not being heard and being controlled, that's where the source of rambling can be, where you're always in your head and disconnected from the heart. Always in the head and disconnected from the heart. Now today, I'm actually practicing this wholeheartedly because usually when I do these episodes, I'm all from the head. I'm all from the head. I'm all from the head. And it comes out to where I ramble. Also, I use a lot of filler words like right. I say right a lot. And that comes from, again, the invalidation and the untrust that I have within myself because the word right is me telling myself and validating myself that what I just said was true. So that's a big source of where the rambling comes from. First off, the amount of times I've broken my word to myself, and also a childhood of not being heard. Now, to further go in depth into that, I'd like to ask you this question. Did you go through a childhood that you felt that you weren't heard? Did you feel that you had no control over your life? That you didn't get to do the things that you wanted to do? Play with the friends you wanted to play with? Love the people that you wanted to love? Did you go through a childhood where your voice was not heard? Did that cause you to not trust yourself? Did that not cause you to trust yourself, to tap into your heart in order to speak, not from the mind, however, from the heart? Did that cause that untrust? Also, how many times, how many times have you made commitments to other people when they ask you to do something for them? You accomplish it with flying colors. You run past the finish line. You go above and beyond for everyone. However, those commitments to yourself, you break. How many times have you broke your commitments to yourself? Breathe into it again. And what did that cause within you in order for you to not trust yourself when you speak? What did that cause? What did that cause to where you were so incongruent within your past, whether it be fitness or relapsing or within the work environment or with making and breaking promises to your kids and family or your mom or your brothers or your sisters or your dad? Where does it come from? How did that make you feel? How did that make you feel? How did that make you feel? Breathe into it. Next, I'm going to go into a couple of methodologies that I'm currently practicing right now as I'm speaking to you, my beautiful audience, is tapping into the heart. Now, again, this is one of my weak points. However, I am dedicated and committed to not only you, my audience, but most importantly, myself, in order for me to be able to connect with everybody that I speak to by practicing this methodology. Breathe into it. Now, there's two methodologies that I'd like to speak about here that is helping me out and supporting me in insane ways right now as I speak to you is taking a deep breath. One of them is taking a deep breath. Breathe when you speak. Just make sure that you have opportunities, that you give yourself opportunities to breathe. Give yourself opportunities to breathe. That way you place the pauses in between your sentences to stop the rambling. Breathing places the pauses in between your sentences or in between your words in order to stop rambling. Now, again, this takes an immense amount of practice, especially if you are a person and an individual that talks just to hear themselves talk. And we've already went through a couple of scenarios where that sources from. Breathe into it. Breathing also gives you an opportunity to get back on track as far as when your mind wanders in the rambling game, to get back on track into what you were originally speaking about. So we were speaking about the disconnect from the heart and always being in the mind. Now, from there, we went into methodologies. Now, methodology number one is to breathe in order to connect with the heart. In order to connect with the heart. It's powerful. It's powerful. One of my trainers, Tori, shout out to Tori, she really put things in perspective for me as far as if you walk with your breath for 5 years and you're conscious of your breathing for 5 years, you'll change your entire life. Now, 5 years seems like a lot. When I first heard that, I was like, whoa, what are you talking about? I gotta wait that long? Just focusing on my breath? However, just think about how many times a day you breathe. You breathe all the time! You breathe all the time. You breathe all the time. There are literally no excuses. You can focus on it now as you're watching this video. Okay? So, breathing is huge when it comes to connecting with the heart because it stops the rambling and it's also, it teaches you a lot about yourself. Think about it. Your breathing, if it's compressed and short, what are your thoughts like? Are you angry? Are you upset? Are you high wire? You have tons of energy, trapped energy. You have trapped emotions that you have not released yet. Breathing teaches you a lot about yourself. I could get into the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. However, that's for another episode. Breathing, however, teaches you a lot about yourself. So if you're short of breath, what is that telling you about yourself? If you're taking long, deep breaths, calm, relaxing breaths, what is that teaching you about yourself? I know in my experience, when I take long, deep breaths and I'm able to connect with my audience and I connect with people that I coach and also connect with my friends and family, my wife, my daughter, my stepsons, so on and so forth. When I focus on my breathing, it really connects. It gets me into my heart. It gets me into my heart when I speak to them instead of being in my head. My messages start to land with intention because I'm connected with my heart to heart. That's my experience on breathwork. Breathwork is huge. So again, my question to you is, what does your breathing tell you about yourself? If you're short of breath, are you angry? Are you tired? Are you aggravated? Are you irritated? Are you frustrated? Are you in pain? What is it? What low frequency are you vibrating at in order for your breathing to be short, short and compressed? Also, when you take long, deep, relaxing breaths, what does that tell you about yourself? Are you in joy? Are you grateful? Are you patient? Are you relaxed? Are you grounded? Are you loving? What high frequency are you operating at when your breaths are focused, deep, relaxed, and intentional? What's the high frequency that you're operating at? Breathe into it. Again. The second methodology, so I explained the first methodology. The second methodology I like to speak about is really focusing on the heart when speaking. Focus on the heart when speaking. It's huge. It's huge. And again, I am practicing for dear life right now. I am practicing for dear life right now. However, the skill is focus on the heart when speaking outward. Because when you're having trouble focusing inwards, focus outwards. Focus outwards. Focus outwards. What I mean by that is if you are having trouble speaking with your heart, you're having trouble speaking with your heart, then usually I'd say there's a dilemma with self-love within the individual. When there is when there's trouble speaking from the heart, there's 99.9% of the time, it's a dilemma with self-love. And trust me, I've been there, I've done it. I've been there and I've done it. So you're speaking to somebody with experience, and I know that a lot of people on this earth, in this world, is going through similar emotions because some similar emotions and similar thought patterns because we're all connected. As human beings, we're all connected and we share experiences. That's how it works, man. So the breathe into it. See, so for example, I almost got into my head just now with the, and I honestly I forgot where exactly I was when I was speaking. However, with those two short or those two long deep breaths, I now remembered where I was at. And where I was at was focusing on the heart when speaking. And when you can't focus on the heart, when you're having trouble focusing on the heart when speaking, focus outward. So when I say the lack of self-love, the dilemma of self-love, is totally transformable. Like you can do actions in order to inhibit self-love within yourself. However, when having trouble loving yourself comes to fruition and you just don't know how, the big thing here is to love outwards. Now, a lot of people say you have to love yourself first before you can love anybody else. I call bullshit. I call bullshit. I call bullshit. Why I call bullshit is because I dare you, my audience, to go and love someone. Go and love someone, however that may look like for you. Go and love someone. Because who that will make you is totally different than who you anticipate yourself to show. Who that will make you in order for you to show love and to love someone else will make you a loving person. You can't be hateful and loving at the same time. You cannot serve two masters. It will not work. It will not work. So hate is a really strong word. However, I'm going to use it because it is a reality within our world. If you are somebody that hates themselves and has a trouble and a dilemma with self-love in order to connect with the heart when speaking, I dare you to go and love someone. Go and love someone because who you will become from loving someone is a loving person. You can't hate yourself and love someone at the same time. You cannot serve two masters. It will not work. It will not work. So the secondary tool of connecting with the heart when you speak has to be practiced through self-love. Through self-love, because trust and self-love, in my experience, is tied together. So in our first tool, we were speaking about trust, self-trust, and now we're speaking about self-love. And it can also be with self-trust as well, really, if we start thinking about it here. Because if you don't trust yourself, go and trust someone else. Go and trust someone else. Give what you want to receive. Give what you want to receive. That is the best paraphrase that I could think of. That is the best paraphrase I could think of. Give what you want to receive. Because again, when you give what you want to receive, whether that be self-love or self-trust or self-worthiness or self-care, when you give that to someone else, as far as love and trust and worthiness and care, guess who you become through that process? You become a loving person. You become a trusting person. You become a worthy person, and you become a caring person, and the list goes on. Give what you want to receive. Now, connecting with the heart, if you have dilemmas, connecting with the heart when it comes to speaking to individuals, your family, your community, the world, when it comes to speaking from your heart and you're finding yourself having trouble connecting with your heart with your speech, I invite you and I dare you and I invite you to go and give what you want to receive, because that's the connection inward to the heart. Powerful. Deep breath in. One more time. And that's how you get into intentional speaking. Intentional speaking. Now, what's intentional speaking, Brandon? What the hell are you talking about, man? Why are you always confusing us with all these crazy topics? Don't worry, man. I gotcha. Okay? I gotcha. Intentional speaking. First off, what does that mean to you? You already know how this goes right now. What does that mean to you? Take a deep breath in. Exhale. Breathe into it again. Exhale. What does intentional speaking mean to you? What does it mean? And remember, every experience is going to be different. Every answer is going to be different because it's tailored to the experiences that we've been through. So there is no right or wrong. However, in my experience, I'm going to speak about my experience. What intentional speaking means is to know the end goal. So before speaking, know the end goal of what you are trying to land, what you are attempting to land, what you are going to land. Know the end goal of what you are going to land. Now, in my experience, when I speak from my mind, 9 times out of 10, my messages don't land. They don't land. And the reason being, now they land. This is in the past. When speaking from my mind in the past, 9 times out of 10, it wouldn't land because I'm rambling. I'm not trusting myself. I'm not connecting with my heart when I speak to people. And also, the rambling and the untrust, and the rambling, the untrust, and the lack of self-love in the past disconnected me from my intention of what I'm going to land. It disconnected me from the intention of what I was trying to land in the past. So now we get to revisit that. Okay. Now, what I mean by revisiting is, okay, being intentional when speaking, intentional speaking, knowing what the end goal is of what you are going to land. Now, I got some super powerful feedback 2 weeks ago when I was volunteering for another leadership workshop. And what that feedback was, it was, I speak very unintentionally. And that was like an arrow through my heart. I didn't understand at first what my trainer at the time, Tori, was talking about. However, I started sitting on it and I was like, wow, I don't actually really think what I'm saying prior to what prior to me saying it. And in that specific scenario, the trainer, she coached us into absorbing energy so we were able to be with our students, be with our students in order for us to be grounded, high energy, just being whoever we had to be and got to be in order to evoke them participating at 100%. And what did I say after she said absorb energy? I said shake it off. Now, my intention was to just shake off the nerves, shake off you know, the extra energy, shake off the high wire, keep yourself grounded, just be present. However, my wording was not congruent with my intention. So when she said absorb energy and I said shake it off, what does do you see the paradigm shift there? Two different paradigms. Wording with intention and speaking with intention is huge. Is huge. Thank you so much, Tori, for that feedback, by the way, because I'm practicing right now as we speak. So that is my experience on speaking unintentionally versus speaking intentionally. Now, speaking intentionally, you have the end goal in mind. You have the end goal in mind. When we are in our heads, we tend to ramble, the untrust, the lack of self-love. These things tend to pop up when we are inside of our head. So it makes our intentional conversation into an unintentional conversation, thus transforming the message that was landed into something that you didn't want compared to what you do want. Intentional speaking, knowing the end goal. Knowing the end goal and connecting to your heart when speaking through the tools. Breathing, take a deep breath in. One more time. And connecting with your heart, really focusing the energy around your heart when speaking, because it also aligns your body language to be congruent with what you are intentionally speaking to land. Crazy, right? Crazy, crazy, crazy. And it's crazy. It just works all together. It works all together. It's also uniform that it makes perfect sense. It really, really does. Oh man. And one last thing that I'd like to say before we get into our recap here is how do you know when your intentional speaking has landed? When do you know and how do you know when your message has landed? How do you know? Well, let me tell you. So when you know that your message has landed via the avenue of connecting to your heart and speaking through your heart, intentionally to a individual or to a group of people, how do you know that it landed? Your message landed? Well, how you know is when it evokes either a body language shift or a facial expression. And then within the transformation world, there's a lot of tears that shed. A lot of tears. When it strikes an emotion or it strikes a button, that's when you know that your intentional speaking has landed the message that you wanted it to. That's how you know. So from now on, I invite you to first off practice this, because I'll be honest, this was extremely hard for me to do while practicing this on this episode. Really, truthfully, honestly, it was extremely hard. However, this is the entire reason why I'm doing these episodes and podcasts is to really be a walking landmark and a walking example of my mission statements. And that is to have the courage to let go of the perfectionist in order to start taking risks within your life by first taking risks in mine. So practice. I cannot say that enough. Practice. Okay, because all of this will require practice. All of these tools require practice. You'll be surprised, just even with breathing, that focusing on the breathing is something that you get to practice. Focusing on the heart when speaking to get your body language congruent takes practice. Intentional speaking with the tools and the connection to the heart and the body language takes practice. And how you know is via the results of evoking either a button or emotions or body language or facial expressions within your recipient or within a group that you are speaking to. That's how you know. So the recap here, guys, is first off, breathe. Take one deep breath in. One more time. So the recap here, guys, is first off, to get out of your head and into your heart. The source of where being in this inside the head comes from. It could come from childhood. It could come from relationships. It could come from you breaking your word from towards yourself. A myriad of different reasons. However, you get to ask yourself those questions. That is totally up to you to take responsibility on that. Where did you being in your mind come from? Where did the disconnect from the heart come from? That's recap number one. Recap number two, breathe into it. One more time. Are the tools. Are the tools to start focusing on the heart when speaking. So the first tool is breathing. The first tool is breathing and focusing on breath work in order to see which vibration and which frequency you're operating in. Whether you're at low frequencies, anger, lust, sad, depressed, frustrated, irritated, or quote, operating at a high frequency, love, compassion, passion, worthiness, enlightenment, wholesomeness, and the list goes on. Breathwork will teach you a lot about yourself. Also, it gives you the pauses in between your words and your sentences to break the cycle of rambling. Also, breathing, it gets you back on track. We're not perfect human beings. This all takes practice. However, it gets you back on track as far as when you lose your spot when speaking. When you lose your spot when speaking and you're having trouble remembering where exactly you left off at, breathing gets you back on track. Now, tool number 2 is to really focus on your heart when speaking. Focus on your heart when speaking. Focus on your heart when speaking. Now, that right there takes a lot of practice because focusing on the heart when speaking, if you're having difficulty focusing on the heart when speaking, what is the trapped emotion that is there? Is it a lack of trust? The lack of self-love? Is it a lack of self-worthiness? Like what's popping up for you within the heart in order to create that blockage, in order for you not to be able to connect with it? What's causing the disconnect? Again, you got to ask yourself these questions. What's causing the disconnect in order for you to be able to focus inward towards your heart in order to speak through your heart and not through your mind? What's causing the disconnect? How to navigate away from the trouble that's brewing inside of the heart inadvertently to heal it is to give what you want to receive. So if you don't trust yourself and if you're having that untrust within yourself and your heart, and that's what's causing you to not be able to speak through your heart, or if you are not loving yourself, if you're operating in a state of lack of self-love, and and that's stopping you from speaking through your heart, then what is the next step? The next step is to give what you want to receive. So give trust, give love in order for you to build out within yourself. Because you can't not trust yourself and then trust someone else. Can't do it. You can't do it. You can't not love yourself and then love someone else. Can't do it. Because the person that you will become through doing that outward, so shifting focus from focusing inward, if you're having trouble doing that, and focusing outward and giving what you want to receive, will transform you right there and then into what you want to receive. So say that you give trust, however, you don't trust yourself. The person that you become is a trusting person in order to give trust. When you give love and you don't love yourself, it shifts the dynamic of who you are right there and then into a loving person. Because who you become right there and then is a loving person. You cannot not trust yourself while trusting someone else. You cannot not love yourself while loving someone else. Because who you become in those moments to trust someone else and to love someone else is a trusting, loving person. And then that's how you heal the heart. Give what you want to receive. Give what you want to receive. And the more healing you do with the heart, the more connection you can focus inward now to speak outward through. That's tool number 2. Intentional speaking is knowing what the end goal is when you speak. And that's putting the first 2 topics, getting out of the head and into the heart by discovering your source of where being in your head comes from and where the rambling comes from. Then utilizing the tools of breathing and connection with the heart. And if it's a dilemma connecting with the heart when speaking, then give what you want to receive, give what you want to get in order to start healing the heart, to build that connection to the heart, to speak with intention. Speaking with intention. From there, speaking with intention is knowing the end goal. Intentional speaking is knowing the end goal. Knowing the end goal. And how do you know when your message has landed? You know when your message has landed when it evokes a facial expression, or it evokes body language, or it evokes an emotion, whether somebody cries or gets angry or frustrated. A button is pushed. That's how you know when your intentional speaking has landed. All right, guys. Well, that's our episode. A little bit longer than I anticipated. However, it was a fantastic episode. I had a perfect opportunity to start speaking with intention, practicing connection with my heart when speaking, and getting out of my head. Getting out of my head and not rambling. Utilizing the tools. Sharing my feedback. Sharing my experiences. And it's awesome, man. It's awesome to be doing this for you guys. I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you for watching. It's tough being up here, man. It's tough being on camera. I'm not gonna lie. However, it's awesome. It's awesome. I love it. So, you guys know where to follow me. And I don't know why you haven't as yet, if you haven't. Alright. Look up The Age of the Comeback on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and within the podcast community, I'm on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Boom! So no excuses, damn it! With that being said, have a great day, everyone. This is the age of the comeback. Oh shit. Nope. Pause. Oh boy. Whew. Man, what a long day. Fix myself. Fix myself. Okay, Brandon. You got this. Ground. 5 deep breaths. Ah. Man. Whew. All right, off to a shaky start. We got it. That camera's recording over there. This camera's recording over here. And just make sure that it's recording. Oh, boy. Beautiful. Over the topic one more time. Let's go time. Speak. Slowing down to oh, what the fuck, go for it anyways. Oh, what the fuck, go for it anyways. 1, 2, and 3. You cannot not trust yourself, or you cannot trust yourself and then trust someone else at the same time. You cannot love your, you cannot not love yourself, or you cannot love yourself and then love someone else. Actually, that's a blooper. That's a blooper. Look at this one. So